And we're back now with our team of analysts, including the hardest working man in journalism, our political director, John Dickerson, Marc Caputo, who is the political reporter for the Miami Herald, and Dave Barry, humorist and syndicated columnist. Dave, I got to ask you.
Did you just call me a communist?
No, columnist. Are you a communist?
Not in Miami, no.
No, okay. You wrote not so long ago that 2011 was so bad as a year that it made people think fondly of back to the BP spill.
The oil spill, yeah.
Yeah, from what you're seeing of the campaign so far, how do you think 2012 is shaping up?
Not good. It's very depressing to listen to the radio here in South Florida. The ads are, you want to take a shower after they say, like, are you aware that, Newt Gingrich, when he was Speaker of the House, robbed a liquor store? Then they say this ad wasn't not approved by anybody. We're just putting it out there, and then they have something about Mitt Romney. It's depressing.
And what about Donald Trump saying he might get into this thing?
What a courageous patriot! I mean, the man is willing to maybe give up his TV show to run for. Thank you, Donald Trump. America thanks you. Just like Abraham Lincoln gave up his TV show to run for. No.
Marc Caputo, let's talk a little bit about this.
Thanks for letting me follow him.
Oh, sure. Let's talk a little bit about your poll that came out in the Miami Herald this morning. Now it looks like Mitt Romney has got a double-digit lead here. When did you start to see this thing shifting toward Romney, or did it not shift? Was it that way all along?
No, you start to see things shift probably around Tuesday or so. Looks like the debate on Monday made a difference, and Gingrich just came in here and really didn't have much of a message. And Romney and his people are outspending Gingrich and his people like 3-1, and they're really beating him up over Freddie Mac. They're parlaying Gingrich's consulting work for Freddie Mac into angst over the housing market. 1 in 360 homes here is in a state of foreclosure, and it's just pretty tough. Down here in Miami, you have a different dynamic. You have a very large Hispanic population that's the bulk of the Republican voter. So a lot of the ads are on radio, and they're Spanish language ads. And there's one that Gingrich ran in which he quotes or has Fidel Castro talking at first. Gives you an idea of the kind of the tenor of the dialogue that's going on. Incidentally, that ad was slapped down by Marco Rubio, the favorite son here and the U.S. senator, and that really threw Gingrich off his game. And after that, it doesn't look like he much recovered.
So you think Romney might increase his lead by the time we get to Election Day, or do you see this as pretty stable now? Or
usually things tighten up. It's where it's like a basketball game or something. No matter how much one team is up at the half, it seems at the end they pull it closely. But Romney has a really strong organization. He's been banking early votes. We don't have one election day here. We have like 30. You can vote by mail, and he's been calling, advertising, and mailing Republicans, and he's probably banked a lot of those votes. Probably 500,000 ballots will have been cast before Election Day. At least 400,000 have or so already.
What do you have, about 1 million votes?
There might be as many as 2 million Republican
really?
votes in this primary, and it's a closed primary, unlike South Carolina and the other early primary states. And by the way, there's a lot of angst here about Iowa having not been able to count its ballots, which they cast on construction paper. This is probably more of Dave Barry's line. But as we look at this election going forward, you see a lot of Republican excitement, at least right now. We'll see what the final total is. It's probably about 2 million ballots will be cast.
If Mitt Romney wins down here, John, what does that mean?
It's a huge blow to Gingrich. I mean, Gingrich coming in this race was a challenge of money and organization, that's what Romney had, versus momentum. Well, if you take momentum away from Newt Gingrich and give the momentum to Romney, what's Gingrich got left? He doesn't have much. And what you're seeing here is that Gingrich's problem is he's been a megaphone for conservatives. They like what he says. Well, in those 2 debates, he lost his megaphone. And so how does he get his voice back? Well, there are no debates. We remember what happened earlier in the race when Gingrich was heavily damaged in Iowa by those negative ads, the same kind that are running here, and he didn't have a debate to come back and remind people why they liked him. It's not enough for him to just complain about Mitt Romney. He has to sell something that people like, and he's going to lose that opportunity going forward. Plus, he doesn't have the money. Plus, he doesn't have the organization. It's a big blow if he loses Florida.
Dave, I'd like to ask you what you see as the most significant thing that's happened so far. I mean, I take that to some of your past writings. I noticed you expressed this thought last year. You said You notice that an earthquake hit Washington last year, but didn't destroy a single federal
It was
agency.
one of the big tragedies of 2000.
Yeah. What are people talking about down
here? The moon base.
The moon base?
Yeah, when you ask the people pretty much all over the country, but especially here, what do we need to do? Establish a place on the moon where we can someday have a state, maybe even a state soil, a state animal. That's what we're talking about. No, the economy. It's all we talk about down here. It's all we talk about anywhere, right?
Yeah. Well, housing. He actually points out something, this is going to sound offensive, he points out something good in a humorous way, which is that when Gingrich is talking about a lunar colony on the moon, he's not talking about the fact that people here in their own homes are having trouble staying in them. And Mitt Romney has been much more disciplined and much more on message about that. And that also compounds the problems that Gingrich is facing. If he does come out of here, he says he's going to fight all the way to the convention, but it really looks right now that he's going to be way behind in momentum, and that really matters in this election.
Do you think this is really hurting the Republicans, John, or?
I don't particularly
they keep
think
saying
so.
It's not.
Well, remember, they talk about the Democratic races, but let's look at Republican races. There was a pretty ugly Republican race in 2000. Remember, John McCain said all kinds of terrible things about George Bush. They patched it up there, and also in this case, what you have is you have Barack Obama, and he's a unifying force for Republicans. They really want to beat him badly, and that's in part what's helping Romney here. Is he's won back that notion that he's the one that can go up against Barack Obama and beat him. Interestingly, not in the debate, still in the poll, I think in the Herald poll and other ones, it still shows people think Gingrich is a good debater, but they, in the long run, think that Gingrich in a general election can't do it, and that Romney's the one who can.
Yeah, our poll shows that in a theoretical general election matchup, Obama would lose, albeit within the error margin, to Romney, but he'd blow away Gingrich, he'd blow away Santorum. And that's that sense of electability that helps translate into more Romney momentum, more positive coverage for Romney, and more votes for him.
But seriously, I heard when you were asking them, when you've been listening to, as we have down in Florida, they calling each other essentially vermin scum. They can't be. Are they really going to suddenly just? Can that happen?
Well,
it happened
already.
already.
We'll
Are we supposed
find
to believe
out.
them?
We'll find out. I have to leave it there.